Hey everyone, Matt Goldich from the Sorry I've Been So Busy podcast here. Hope you're having a great holiday season wherever you are, if you're on vacation or with your family. Maybe you have to work today, which sucks, but if you do, download this and listen to it on your commute. Enjoy. This is one of our favorite episodes from 2017 that we're reposting with the one and only Janeane Garofalo. And she actually broke some news on this episode that she was going to be making her Broadway debut, which she did in 2017. So big year for her, big year for us on the podcast. Please rate and review us on iTunes. Andrew and I really appreciate it. And we have lots more new episodes coming for you in 2018, including next week. But in the meantime, first enjoy this episode with Janeane Garofalo and stay busy, everybody.
Until I met my new best friend. My boys say I'm tripping. When they call, I'm not answering. They always get my voicemail.
Alex, are we rolling? We are rolling. Welcome to another episode of Sorry I've Been So Busy. This is a podcast where we talk to very busy people about what they're busy with.
Not so
Our guest
busy.
is saying not busy. We're going to find out what you're pretending to be busy with and how you blow people off and how you get
not
away
that I'm sorry, I had to jump in. This is the intro part.
Yes.
But it's not,
No,
I'm
that
not
is the
pretending.
quickest jump in ever. I'm glad
Sometimes
it's you.
I'm busy, but in general, in the aggregate, I'm not a particularly busy person.
Well, that's what we were going to find out about.
we
We're going to find
talked
out how
about
you fill in those hours, about a boy style, pretending to be busy.
I don't even pretend.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm not ashamed of it.
All right, good.
She's
Good.
out and proud.
She's out and proud with. Yeah, nice. That's Andrew. With the guest is coming out in a few minutes. I'm completely thrown.
No, the guest is here. The guest is here.
We're very excited to have our guest, Andrew Goldstein.
At Ange Gold on Twitter,
He is not
ANGEGOLD.
thrown. He's very, very.
I'm just waiting to get my Twitter handle.
My name is Matt Goldich, at Matt Goldich, GOLDICH on Twitter. Our guest is not on Twitter. We'll talk about that. I'm very excited.
There is a fake me tweeting.
It's
not me.
All right, we're gonna
bot.
find a bot, a Russian bot. We're here at Showbiz Studios in the East Village. Please go to Showbiz Studios.com and at Showbiz Studios on Twitter to find out about all the other podcasts they do here. Lots of great stuff going on. Thank you to all of our fans and everybody who's been downloading the podcast, who's been listening. Your comments, a lot of good comments off the last couple episodes with Julian McCullough and Sierra Lindsay Cos, and the numbers are great. And do we have a busybody of the week?
We have
Andrew?
a busybody of the week guy we were both a page with.
Okay.
An NBC page. His name is Alan Noah.
Alan Noah.
He wrote,
Sure.
I realize I'm a week late, but this was another fantastic episode. And Sierra, you are absolutely incredible.
In
So he's
regards
talking
to
about
Sierra
Sierra
Lindsay Cos
So.
episode. Great.
Thank you, Alan
I
Noah.
remember him well. We started this very exact same day as Pages on NBC.
He's in your page class.
He's in my page class, and so he, we were the pre-9/11ers.
You were the Jewy part.
We were, although actually there was an Orthodox girl in our class too who tried to lumped me in with her wish to get off for Sukkot, and I was like, please do not lump me. She was like, are we going to get off for Jewish holidays? And she was like, yeah, like Sukkot, and I was like, no, I don't
thought it
need
was
off.
Sukkos.
Sukkos is like the Yiddish sort of like
you can do T or you can do S.
Yeah, it's sort of like Simchas Torah or like Simchat Torah.
Usually the older, more curmudgeonly Jewish guys in shul say Simchas.
We're getting very Jewish.
Anyway, thank you, Alan Noah. And I want to mention that we have a Facebook page now.
Oh,
So if you are on Facebook, you can look us up by the title of our podcast. Sorry, I've been so busy. Or you can type in at Busy Podcast, and we should show up.
Okay, great. That's terrific. Yeah, thank you to all the we've
throw us a like
followers
on that page.
Yeah, please. And if you want to get mentioned as a busybody of the week, you got to do something.
And leave us comments.
Yeah.
Leave us ratings on iTunes. It really helps. And that's all the business. For now.
I don't want to waste too much time before we get to our guest, but we did have dinner with the wives the other night, which was very fun.
We went out as couples. We went to your hood. We went to Red Rooster.
Yes.
Shout out to Marcus Samuelson.
Great.
Fantastic meal.
Great. Very lived up to the hype. It was awesome. So good to see you
That's
guys.
one of those restaurants that comes with a lot of hype, and then
Yeah.
you go, and it lives up to. It was like Peter Luger for me. It's
very good.
I know you didn't love Peter Luger.
Overrated. That's fine.
All right.
Let's
hate mail coming. Hate mail.
Oh boy, Peter Luger's not a sponsor of the show. So we're sponsored by MeUndies. No, we're not even sponsored by MeUndies. I just felt
fingers
like
crossed
yeah.
that Peter Luger throws us a sponsorship.
We have a very exciting guest here. She's been in Showbiz Studios a couple times, but has not been on our podcast. And someone I'm very excited to talk to. Guys, It's the one and only Janeane Garofalo. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me, but I think you're pronouncing showbiz wrong.
Okay. How should we...
I feel like there's not an R. I could be
no
wrong
R.
about that.
I tend to throw an extra R in some words.
But I feel like that... It's just that I've... and granted, I was a straight C student, so don't quote me, but I feel like it's showbiz.
Okay, we'll let Alex Brazell, our producer,
Bizzennis.
The Trump administration is spell checking all of our materials.
It's show business, I thought, is what I thought it was.
You racist.
Is that really? Is that even
I thought it was the Show Briss studio.
The Show Briss, yeah.
You anti-Semite.
This table, actually, we after the podcast, we will cover in a tablecloth, and we will take a young boy's foreskin.
And then what do you do with it?
Welcome to the grind it into a shake.
Or a face cream.
Yeah, face cream.
Or an eye patch.
Yeah. Showbiz comes from Alex Brazell, our producer. Who can we say your full name? Or is it a lot? You're not in hiding anymore, guys. Janeane Garofalo is here. Very exciting.
This is wonderful.
I've done a couple of shows with you probably over the last 15 years, and then I think it was December or January we were on At Midnight together.
December, I think.
Comedy Central at midnight.
Or was it November?
I don't remember.
But it was me, you, and Michael Ian Black.
Yes, it was a wonderful time.
What a murderer's row.
Yeah.
And I lost.
You did, but it was your first time on the show.
It was my first time on the show, and also I'm not. I wasn't good at it.
You were good. I think you had good jokes. What was interesting was. Were you the first person in the history of the show to not have a Twitter account?
I do not have a Twitter account. Like I said, there's a fake me tweeting, so there was no check this or whatever.
Because the whole point of the show is you're supposed to be playing along on Twitter, but you have no Twitter.
Right. I didn't even know that till right now.
Oh,
what
really?
do you mean playing along on Twitter?
Well, so people, there's these hashtag games and other games that people contribute to where they sort of people who watch the show are playing along at home
can contribute their own answers.
Well, then they might have been doing it with the fake person who's tweeting as me. I don't know why that person's doing it.
But the show knew that you don't have Twitter because when they introduce you, it says at Matt Goldich, at Michael Ian Black, and then yours just said Janeane Garofalo. It was just they knew that
needs no at.
Needs no at. Yeah. But I didn't know if there were other people, but.
What was the at sign used for before the internet?
Nobody knows.
Ampersand?
It existed, but what did they use it on a typewriter
Wait,
for?
the at sign is on a typewriter?
It's called an ampersand.
No. The ampersand is the and,
I thought the at was the ampersand.
No, but at isn't a new symbol. That existed.
It's I'll see you at 7:30.
Yeah, but how? At is
I think
letters
it was
now.
always on a keyboard.
Yeah. But what did it mean?
Maybe it always was just a shortcut.
No, because
I thought you did wonderful on At Midnight. I loved. Didn't you kneel down behind your podium when you lost?
I should disappear.
Yeah, like a trap door.
Yeah, something like that.
You thought you were going to.
Yeah, I just thought you couldn't see me
herself.
anymore. If I pretended that I dropped, I wanted it to look like I dropped.
Yeah.
But then I was informed that the audience can still see you.
Yeah.
Which
Janeane does her own
was not
stunts.
aware.
I just wanted to show you this just so we're clear. So that is an ampersand, and that is the at symbol.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I thought it was
the
other
only
way around.
reason I know that is called an ampersand is from being a kid and watching Wheel of Fortune, and Pat Sajak would say, "We have an ampersand in the puzzle."
You know where I thought it was from the graphic novel "Why the Last Man" series.
Oh, really?
And I could have sworn his pet monkey, if memory serves, was named Ampersand after the at sign.
Wow.
Ambersand is a stripper.
That's
she's good.
Yeah, she's very good.
Very
Portland,
good.
right?
Very, She gets all the way up the pole.
Plus size.
She gets to the ceiling.
Yeah. But this is
empowered.
One of the main things I wanted to talk to you about. So I don't know. So what I found out when we were on the show together, and I said I would love you to come do the podcast, and you would say and you said that's great. I would love to, and you said I don't have email. So you not only do you not have Twitter, you have no email.
I don't have email. Nobody believes us. I mean, we can. I've discussed this before with people, and people absolutely don't believe me that I don't use a computer and I don't have a smartphone, and I don't say that with any nobility. It's a value-neutral statement, but. She thinks she's so cool and bullshit. And there's
so it comes with judgment.
For younger people especially,
they think
cannot
you're an alien.
conceive of it. And even people I've known for years, forget every time. I have to remind them. People I've known most of my life will say, well, I got to email you something. I don't know how many times.
Like a script.
I can say it, yeah. Or not that I've known people who would have a script for most of my life, but it's one of those things. Then my boyfriend has a computer. We live together. Has a computer and a printer. And if somebody absolutely has to email, he'll
give it to him, yeah.
He'll do it. But I prefer to get things in hard copy. You know what I mean? So I will either go to my manager's or agent's office to get any paperwork, like because their offices are very near my apartment.
Right.
I like to have it in my hands, and I also like to read things not on a device, and I like to phone people and text and take care of things the one time, as opposed to, well, I'll email you later. Even simple things, people, I'll say I'm talking to you, and I say, can I get so and so's phone number? Yeah, I'll email it to you. How about you just tell me right now?
Right. You don't want the back and forth.
That would be the back. It's just, but also. I did try and join in that world in the early 2000s when I worked at Air America Radio because it seemed necessary, and I really this is not right for me. And then also the backlash for being back then, if you were against the war and not a George W. Bush fan and all these kinds of things, the backlash was unbelievable, and
it's 10 times worse now with Twitter and
but it was bad then too.
No, but I'm saying if
I'd be bombarded
exactly
more even now, and I do care what people think of me, and it does bother me a great deal, especially when it's unjust. You know what I mean? If I've done something wrong or that is worthy of criticism, that's one thing. But if you have done nothing other than state your stance against an illegal war and other things like that, and you are absolutely bombarded with vitriol, and it ruins the quality of your life. I don't let it doesn't roll off my back, that kind of thing, you know. And also it
you're
creates
not like
anxiety.
Taylor Swift. You can't shake it off.
I can't shake it off. And get ready for this sick beat, which is not at all in any way. And I think sick is supposed to mean good and catch. It's just the least. It's the most banal thing follows. Get ready. I think she says sick beat. I'm not sure.
She does.
Do you use the internet?
No. How would I do that?
On your boyfriend's computer?
No, I know you don't have email.
Right. I do not.
You do not
use the internet and stuff. Now, if there is something that has to be looked at, like a medical or something, I will ask somebody who has access, like look something like that. And if I had children and a different kind of job, I probably would resign myself to having to be
WebMD.
More connected because I had children and responsibilities of that sort. And your career will take a hit if you are not on social media and not involved in these things. You will definitely lose on the road. Seats, you know what I mean? But that's fine with me because I don't want to do it. And I also don't like doing press and interview, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to go to smaller venues and sell less tickets, then you can do that.
It would be tough for somebody just starting out who didn't have a name to not use the internet.
Right, and actually, even my name, such as it is really not. Is neither here nor there, because people come up to me all the time and say, why did you quit acting and why did you quit doing stand-up? I didn't, but I can understand why they would think that, you know, because
it's very
under the radar, because it's just, my life is better that way. I don't want to know what people think
I would love
when
to
they
quit.
don't like me.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
I can't tell you, we've been doing this probably like 50 episodes at this point, and, it's a constant theme. How distraction and phones and all this stuff really, especially now, especially with the way the world is and the news cycle and how fast it is, how people feeling like they're constantly bombarded. So for me, it's not judgment. Like, you seem very. I would just be at peace. I think it's
It is very peaceful.
Yeah.
And actually, I get overwhelmed very easily, unfortunately. And when I'm overwhelmed, it's difficult to get out from under the whelm. Right. So I have to live in a way that tries to minimize that kind of thing.
Right.
Now, I also I am present when I converse with people. I don't put my phone on the table if I meet them somewhere. You know what I mean? It's not in my hand.
Put my phone away.
No.
I'm not judging. Take our phones off the table.
I'm not judging. I'm not doing something else while talking to other people. And also, when I'm reading, I'm reading. When I'm watching news, I'm watching news. And I tend to get most of my news either via Pacifica Radio or people like Amy Goodman, or I subscribe to things like The Nation and Mother Jones and things, and I sit there and
And TMZ. I'm kidding.
I don't know what that is. TMZ? Is that part of Showbiz?
Yeah, that's part. Yeah,
The Showbiz world?
Yeah, it is part.
But I again, now if I had children and things like that, things would be different. But I don't, so I am able to keep it more contained. Yeah. And also I feel like what happens to a lot of us in actually many jobs, but let's just say entertainment, people start creating content just for the sake of it. Just to create content, just to either be out there or and I think that then the quality of said content suffers. And I have no need to make content just for the sake of when people say you should do a podcast, you should do a blog. Why? Right. I don't. There's plenty of podcasts and people are doing a great job.
There's too many.
If I had something of value,
what we're doing now is completely unnecessary.
If you think about it, 90% of what most people do is unnecessary. Sure. But certainly comics and actors and web series, it's to create content for the sake of creating content, hoping that perhaps it leads to something else or what have you. I understand that. I'm not criticizing it, but it eats up your life. Yeah. It's like sitting in traffic in Los Angeles. It's just a non-essential.
Yeah.
We just do it to hang out.
No, that's basically why we're here.
And it's fine. And if you're doing something that is creatively fulfilling to you and is of value to your listeners, there is no problem with that.
Right. The interesting thing to me, so you do text.
I do text and I speak on the phone.
I have a
phone
like
that allows
school, like a flip phone?
It's a Samsung phone that could be, I'm sure, a smartphone.
Oh, I see.
But
you don't use
could
it as
access if I create accounts and stuff. I could probably do everything everybody else does on that phone.
Right.
Right now, the phone can only make phone calls.
Go figure.
And or I can take pictures.
That's good.
Oh, that's good.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
The interesting thing to me is we've been texting trying to set this up, and it seems to me more intimate than email. Like I think most people would see when I said it almost sounds like, oh, you've been texting with Janeane Garofalo. And but I'm just saying because you don't have email, it's the only way.
Right,
to get
and we could have actually spoken.
But I'm saying
we could have actually spoken if you had.
We could.
If you called.
I should have.
No, that's fine. Text is actually better because and this is going to sound again like I'm not. I rarely have my phone on me.
Right.
Or with me. Or it's at the bottom of my backpack. So even if people and the ringer's never on.
Yeah.
So it would just go to voicemail.
Right.
Probably, anyway.
Do you know your code to get into your voicemail?
I do not.
Wow.
I really don't. I think it's probably whatever the default code is, if there is that.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It probably is that. Because I never made one, so I'm assuming it's whatever. Yeah. Or isn't it the last 4 digits of your phone number?
No, you can make it whatever you want it to be.
Oh, okay. So it's whatever came with the phone. But I've never... the only time it's been a problem is when I've been international.
Right.
For whatever reason, I can't pick up my... messages the same.
Yeah. I do not know my code at work. I have about 5 voicemails from the past 2.5 years on my work phone. Never checked them. Don't know how to check them. So I'm not.
I usually operate. Nobody's calling me.
Yeah.
So I don't need to set up my work voicemail.
Yeah.
Also, cell phones have that's my number on the call sheet.
Right. But I think a lot of people are probably, especially right now. I think after the election, a lot of people had the instinct I need to get off Twitter for a few months. I need to get off Facebook. I need to get off social media. And for you didn't even need to do it.
Right. I wasn't.
So I think people probably are in some ways. I think maybe jealous. I would.
Oh no, I wouldn't think so. And also, people get a lot of satisfaction out of being connected all the time. And I'm sure there are certain things I'm missing. But sometimes it does bother me when I'm with a group of friends and. When we were speaking of after the election, we went to Washington, a group of friends and I, to go to the march the day after the inauguration. And then we're on the Northeast Regional on the way back. It's a number of hours. You're sitting there on an Amtrak. I can't tell you how many times the whole time phones were handed to me. Look at this video. Look at this thing. Look at this. Look what so-and-so said. Look at pictures from yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there going, great, thank you. But I'm sitting here, I'm reading, and not that it's just. And there were some nice pictures. That's nice, Yeah. But also, there must be some type of carcinogenic rays coming at you, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
got to
screen
be
time for sure.
some type of negative
It's affecting
health
sleep and for sure.
going on, because these people have it at work all the time, and they were not at work. This is their weekend.
Constant.
Phone never leaves the hand. It's just there's.
If you take the subway, if you look around, I do this every once in a while.
People are always
somebody's either holding their phone, looking at their phone, or listening to something via their phone,
or both. They have like music going on in their ears, and they're on
every
the phone.
single person.
Right.
Down,
and now, if you're
down the
reading,
line.
I can understand that. Like if they're reading on the subway and it's on the phone, it's easier, I guess, to not carry a lot of stuff. But I see a lot of people like scrolling and doing stuff, and I feel like, oh, that's gotta suck. Just constant.
Yeah. Well, it's creating a lot of problems.
Overload. I think it is creating depression and all kind of dissonance that is going misdiagnosed.
I keep noticing the more I watch the news, I notice more and more every story has a Twitter component. And I don't think it's like on purpose, like the editor is saying, show some tweets. It's that something about the story has to do with a tweet happening and instigating the story. And I'm just like, Twitter literally is I love it, and I am obsessed with it. But I can also see that it's doing real damage to society.
I read a sentence somewhere said you are just one tweet away from ruining your life.
Yeah.
Either by saying something that's going to kick off a firestorm of controversy.
I don't think humans are responsible enough to have access to the entire world, to have their thought, to have a platform to vocalize.
Very few are. I mean, there's
we're learning that
there
now.
There is some people who are probably bring a great deal of knowledge to and information in a good way to people, and then there's just most people. But then there's sometimes I'll hear about a funny. My boyfriend's a huge like Patton Oswalt fan and stuff like that, and they'll say, "Oh, you should see this funny thing that so and so said."
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. But then you also hear about these protracted arguments that people get into.
Yeah.
Not just him, and I understand why some of them have. There's some people have been so terribly cruel. In his case, but again, this is. Stay off.
Yeah.
Stay off. The more you put yourself out there, the more you present yourself to people in any way, the more you give people a chance to dislike you.
Yeah. The counter argument is that, and the reason why is it's a chance to connect with people who like-minded people or people,
which is good.
That care about you who you wouldn't otherwise
for like the first 5 years
Yeah.
of Twitter, that was that. And
no.
it's
Community being created, especially for people who feel alienated and alone, I think, especially young people, that's all good.
It's like my mom always says to my oldest brother, don't bring attention to yourself. Stop bringing attention to yourself.
I think it's fine to bring attention to yourself if you have something that is worthy of said attention, I think.
So do you watch the news?
Yeah, I do. I watch Chris Hayes and Rachel Maddow and Lawrence O'Donnell. I also will watch RT TV sometimes. I'll watch Amy Goodman, Tom Hartman, things like that.
Yeah.
BBC News, Canadian News.
My wife loves the Chris Hayes.
I like Chris Hayes as well.
Loves the Chris Hayes.
Yeah.
So you don't. So there's never a time where you feel like you're missing out.
Yeah.
Oh,
there's certain times, sure, but I don't know what I'm missing. But also, here's another aspect for it. If you are a socially awkward person, as I am, and have social anxiety and or can't drink anymore, that kind of thing. If you don't have email, you'll never be invited again anywhere. Which, if that suits you, which it suits me, you won't have to feel that anxiety of like, oh no, I got to go to this thing and this thing and this thing, and I don't want to.
You do not have FOMO.
What's FOMO?
Fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out. I do not.
Yeah.
There are times, honestly, in a different way, like if I see quality work going on, whether it be comedy, drama, what have you, and I'll see something that looks like it's either very, very fun or it's real quality, I feel like, I wish I was still in the game or people remembered my name enough in the business to at least give me a chance to audition.
Yeah.
That I feel like sometimes, I wish
that makes sense.
I wish I had an opportunity to at least audition for those things. So I do feel a sense of missing out on certain projects.
Right.
But I don't feel I'm missing out socially.
Yeah. Interesting. But you're out there doing. I don't know.
Well, no. It's all of us feel like we all feel like we could be, and then there's all of us have a friend who will say, "I never get anything," and you're like, "What? you're working all the time. You know,
Yeah.
that's how.
Yeah.
But for
In
me,
any form of entertainment, you always feel like you could be
You
doing
feel
more.
like you can be
There's
doing
cool
more.
stuff going on that you're not involved
right,
in.
and you see it and you enjoy it, or it
Yeah.
looks like it was fun for people. But also in the '90s, I worked a great deal.
Yeah.
and that was a long time ago. Now I realize that.
Right.
And in the beginning of the 2000s, when it was still freshly a downturn,
Yeah.
I really felt it. Now it's normal. I've been not famous for way longer than I was briefly famous
Yeah.
in the '90s. So it's now quite normalized. But in the beginning, when I was like, oh, how come the phone doesn't ring anymore for job wise,
Right.
quote unquote,
Right.
it hurt a great deal in the beginning.
Yeah.
And now it's like it was always like that. You know what I mean? Because it's hard to remember now
Yeah.
because it was so long ago
Yeah. That's,
when people asked me
What's
to do
your
stuff all the time.
recognizable factor? How much?
Oh, it just depends.
Day to day.
It depends. Honestly, some days it's very high. I don't know when I'm like, did something bad just happen? Or is today
Right.
the day walking down 7th Street that a number of people are saying, oh, hey, it sounds very strange, but sometimes
Yeah.
it's not at all. And then sometimes it's like, wow, today
Yeah,
was
a lot of people.
like
Yeah.
the old days. And why? And it makes me panic a little bit. Like, did somebody release some
Right. Is there some tape of me?
footage that I was
Right.
not aware was being taken? Because it's a surveillance society.
Yeah.
And it's worse than the Stasi. None of us know when we're being surveilled, and none of us know if somebody's posting something you've done quite unaware.
Yeah.
It's not fair and it's not right, but these things can happen. And I think, did somebody film me doing something that is terribly embarrassing or something, then it's been
Yeah.
posted? Like, 'cause why are people
Yeah.
noticing me today?
Right.
It's
Like
very
you,
strange.
Like you had an airport tirade or something.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah,
was,
something.
Yeah.
And it's not that I have airport tires,
No,
but just
yeah.
something. And it's unusual when that happens.
Yeah, that is. I would think the people who recognize you tend to be more fans, more people who.
Well, it's definitely not like Joe and Jane Q Public. There are some who are more like Joe and Jane Q Public who still remember Truth About Cats and Dogs or Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce or shows that wouldn't be like Lower East Side type
Right,
thing.
yeah.
But you also did super mainstream.
That's what I mean. Those
Primetime
are
dramas.
mainstream.
Right. You
Those
did
are. That's what I mean. Like
West
or
Wing
24 West
24
Wing.
people,
Yeah.
West Wing
Yeah.
people.
But I consider West Wing to be a quality thing.
Of course.
Whereas Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce, I wouldn't put that, and I wouldn't put Criminal Minds in the quality bin. So that's why when people are like, "I loved you on that," I'm like, "Oh, you watched that?"
You judge them negatively for.
I don't judge them.
Not
I'm just
negative.
saying, what do you like about it?
Right,
That's a strange thing to
Yeah.
me.
The answer is it's on TV. And that's
It's on
why-
TV,
that's
and
why
I guess
like
it's background. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of those crime procedurals are just background, and
Yeah.
you can easily
well, like
not
all
pay
these
attention.
Chicago shows. I'm like, who is what? There's 4 of them.
Chicago
now.
Hope, Chicago blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
Chicago Mail.
Any of these mainstream network, the big 3
Yeah.
still, if you want to call them that. Network, primetime, those things, whether it's medical procedural, legal procedural, Chicago, like
Yeah.
Quantico, something. Those are all to me like wallpaper. You know what I mean? Like it's just in the background. You don't really have to get invested.
Yeah.
But you know what new show I love? Detroiters.
Oh, it's
on
so
Comedy
funny.
I love that show.
Oh, it's great.
Not only is it funny, it's got heart. And I hate to say stuff
Yeah.
like that, but and the music.
Yes.
The sound of Detroit, these songs that
Yeah.
you don't often hear.
No, yeah, it's great.
I love Detroiters so much.
I want to find out. I have a couple friends who know people working, but I'm really, the guy who plays the newscaster on the TV.
I love it.
in the
I don't
bar,
often comment on the commercials. That is such a funny conceit.
He's so great, and I want to know if he's an actual newscaster or if he's. Like
I don't
some
know,
sort
but
of
that is a
report.
really
Yeah.
and I was actually sorry it's not in every. It should be in every single one.
Oh.
Him saying the exact same thing. If I
Yeah.
don't often comment on the
Yeah,
commercials,
yeah.
but he should say that.
And the
every
story
week.
he's always coming out of.
And he
is
goes,
so,
"This was one murder that had a happy ending."
It's so funny.
And they make Detroit look like a really
I
appealing
know.
place.
I've
to
never
live.
been to Detroit. I've
I
always
have
wanted to
been,
go.
but I haven't in a long time. So I know it has changed.
Yeah.
a
It's
great
changing,
deal.
yeah.
It's changing again. But I went to Detroit in the 70s, the 80s, and
Yeah.
in the 90s before it had this new renaissance that's
Yeah.
having now. But it looks quite interesting.
Yeah.
Right
have you
now.
have you always lived in New York?
I moved to New York in '94. I was born and mostly raised in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But I lived briefly in L.A. in the early '90s.
Yeah.
Went to college in Rhode Island and then lived in Boston briefly.
Where'd you
lived
go-
in Houston.
where'd you go to college?
Providence College, Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, I went to Brown. I don't think I knew that.
Well, you went to the good place, RISD
Yeah.
and Brown. I went
Right.
to the bad one, For the kids who couldn't get into Holy Cross and Villanova. That's Providence College.
PC, yeah.
PC,
I remember
Friars.
well. Yeah, you know.
But I used to go to Brown all the time. But you wouldn't have been born yet. I was there from 82 to 86.
I was born, but I was not.
But you weren't college material yet.
Was your Boston time after college?
Yes, I moved
And was that when... I'm asking comedy-wise because I know there was a huge scene. I worked with Patrice, and he came out of that whole scene with Jon Stewart not Jon Stewart, the whole Boston crew. Dennis Leary, sorry.
Yeah, that was
Leary and
yeah. I was there. I started doing open mics there while I was in college. I started doing stand-up when I was a junior in college, and I would do open mics around Island and then drive into Boston and try and get on open mics there. And then when I graduated in 86, I moved to Allston, which is right, like attached. Adjacent. And I was there for a couple of years and then moved to Houston because there was a scene there, too, with plenty of stage time. You know what I mean? There was...
Wow.
It was a great scene in Boston, as it was in a lot of cities, with less and less stage time. Houston was also a great scene with lots of stage time, not a lot of comics.
Who hipped you to Houston?
Well, my dad lived there because he worked for Exxon.
Got it.
And so occasionally he would go there to work, and he was there then.
And he was like, yo.
And I knew that there was a scene there from when I would go to Houston.
That's so interesting.
And got tons of stage time there when I was there briefly. And then
You're so
there,
Houston, Janeane.
I am so Houston. Look at me. But also I was a Bill Hicks fan.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so then from Houston, moved to Los Angeles.
Briefly, and then we've been here.
And then I was there for about 4 years and then moved to New York in 94.
Yeah.
And have been here ever since.
Wow. We're lucky to have you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Especially since you do not live, well, we don't have to say we're Showbiz Studios.
Well, I live very close to
by.
you.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's good.
Have you always been sort of in this?
I've lived in the same apartment since 94.
Wow.
That's cool.
I guess.
Well, I'm just
Well,
saying.
actually, I
in
bought
terms
it.
of
It's
what-
mine.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
what's not cool is I'm not handy.
Yeah.
I'm not handy. It's not in great stead
Okay.
after all these years. But I love my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is weird because it's like things change in New York and like things, obviously, like, you know, smaller businesses get edged out for more, but it's like parts of it do still have like a feeling like of
Well, it's
like,
just it is one of the greatest places to live. I
Yeah.
feel very, very lucky to live here, and I really enjoy it. And I'm of two minds about this. Is going to be controversial. What I'm about to say.
Hot take.
When it comes to gentrification and neighborhoods changing, I feel the only people that have real qualms with that are the indigenous First Nation tribes and Native Americans who were dispossessed,
Right.
first and foremost, if not wiped out entirely.
Yes.
Now that's what hardcore gentrification. That's a problem.
Yes.
That it is the nature of life for neighbors to keep changing, and
Right.
there's this nostalgia for the good old days that never were, in a way. You know what I mean? Like, my father's aunt in the early, my parents are from the Bronx. In the early 70s, his aunt lived on Avenue A, and we would visit her occasionally. You know, but probably once a month because we lived in New Jersey at the time. And Avenue A in the early 1970s. I want to tell you something.
Fascinated.
There is. I don't understand the romance of it, to tell you the truth. When my siblings and I went outside, we did not return with our toys.
Yeah.
That's A. But that's okay. That's just garden variety bullying. You can get that in any neighborhood. We could not use the elevators because you just literally could have lost your life. My father's elderly aunt, who just didn't want to move, she'd been there for years and years, and she was a shut-in, basically. The dangers for her
You couldn't walk outside.
to go out, you know, things like that. And a lot of times when we would visit her, we'd bring supplies.
Right,
You know? And I understand why she was sentimental about living there. And she did have friends still, you know, that lived in the neighborhood and stuff. But if people can picture walking down Avenue A as the sun is setting in 1973, so what if there's thin crust pizza here now? I'll take it. You know what I mean? It's it is ever it's not new. You know, you always hear people discussing gentrification as if, oh, this horrible thing. It is horrible in many ways. It's also very good in many ways when people can safely walk from point A to point B.
Yeah.
At any hour of the night. And that's another great thing about New York. It's quite safe, actually, when you
really
compare it to
safe
other
now.
cities. And, you know, I've been, as I said, living here since 94. I have not had even one questionable episode where I'm like, oh my God, you guys.
Right.
I have been mugged in Boston. I have been mugged in Los Angeles. I've had my car stolen in Los Angeles. Okay, that's fine. But I never have problems here. And I used to be drunk all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Drunk,
Right.
blackout drunk. I don't, as far as I know, nothing.
Every
has
story about
ever
Manhattan in the 70s is like you couldn't walk out your door.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure in
Fascinating.
Woody Allen's Manhattan, if you watch Annie Hall, 1975, Uptown, it looks quite nice.
Big yellow
It even
cabs.
looks quite nice around Washington Square Park.
Yeah.
But I also remember New York from the 80s. It started getting much like it is today in the 90s, but then it really ramped up. The prices going through the roof,
yeah.
like every major city, internationally and domestically.
Yeah.
Vancouver, London, Australia, Melbourne, prohibitively expensive. Presumably that can't last. One would think that it has to bust out again. But I feel like the quality of life for a great many people is improved in that they are physically safer, females and children especially.
Yeah.
Now, there are whole other layers of this that I am in no way disrespecting that is problematic.
Sure.
And it is very problematic when businesses cannot pay their rent, all of that. I agree with that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is to complain about something that is the very nature, the very fabric of life, in cities especially.
Yeah.
It has always been this way from
it's
talk
not
to the
gonna
Dutch. You know what I mean? Like talk to Native Americans, talk to the Spanish, whatever it is, that is ongoing.
Yeah.
And hopefully prices will come down again, and hopefully great small businesses won't be pushed out.
Yeah. Everything's
for time immemorial.
everything's a bank or a
CVS or a
Right.
Duane Reade. Now, sometimes that's quite helpful.
Yeah, I know, right?
And also when you do stand up on the road and you go to places that are not full of bank machines
Right.
and,
Where's the
and
ATM?
pharmacies, you realize, oh no, it's a real bummer when you can't get to them
One
at
time
night.
I was in, my wife and I were in CVS in our neighborhood, and we were having a conversation about buying. We needed to buy someone a present, and we were like, we didn't know if we'd have time before the party. So we were like, we'll just go on Amazon and we'll order something. We'll be here in 2 days. And the woman in front of us turned to us and she said, you know, you shouldn't be ordering things on Amazon. That's how, otherwise your children won't even be able to go to college. You should be supporting small markets like this one. And it's like, we're in a CVS.
CVS,
I don't
small
know what she
markets
was
like
talking
the
about.
mom and pop
Yeah,
CVS.
Now, if
she
that
said-
person was being funny, that's
No,
really
she
funny.
was mentally ill, I think. Yeah, or
Yeah,
something. It
well,
was
she
a
probably
weird...
had a larger point because that others have brought up about when you order like that.
Sure.
You put other people out of work.
But it's CVS.
I know, but that's very funny. Actually, if somebody was being funny, that's very funny.
Yeah, I know, right? It would have been, but she
There's
was
way
not
too
being
many
funny.
CVS.
The mom and pop
Duane Reades.
Sbarro.
Yeah. I mean, but Duane Reade's, it started as a...
Duane Reade was first on
was.
Duane and Reade down
there you go.
in NoHo
Yeah.
before it was called NoHo.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally random. One thing I do want to bring up with you before we get into a typical day in Janine's life, your original HBO special, the HBO special.
Well, there was a half-hour one and an hour one.
I'm thinking the hour with the stool and the notebook and the.
I've always had a
okay.
notebook.
The big bit was about Speed, the movie.
Oh, was that that might be the hour one.
Yeah. So there's a line in it that has always stuck with me. In fact, it almost was in my high school yearbook under my picture.
What
It
was
didn't
it?
make it, but I love the line and I always quote it, which is, I have a very can you start my orange approach to life.
Oh, I actually sometimes still say that in my life because it encapsulates my I can't do it. My give up nature. I'm unfortunately when it comes to maths, if we were in England,
Maths.
or directions or
Yeah.
trying to get a skills or fixing something. I still
just
sometimes will say,
remember-
"Can you start my orange?" I can't.
I just remember being a teenager and my dad would tape HBO specials on VHS tapes for me, and I watched
Mm-hmm.
yours. And I just remember hearing that line, and I didn't even necessarily laugh, but I was just like, "That is the smartest, funniest."
Oh, thank you.
I was like, I would never be able to think of that construction.
Well, the only reason I thought of it is because in my life,
You were peeling an orange.
for real, I used to be a big Sunkissed Orange fan, but because I bite my cuticles, as you and I discussed
Yes,
earlier, and there tends to be
like-
open wound, usually.
Yeah.
I've
There's
been
no way you're getting
a
through
cuticle.
that
The
membrane.
citric acid
Right.
would burn my fingertips, and for years I used to say, "Can you start my orange?" to people, which
Yeah.
seemed apt for now, what I sometimes will say is, my personality type is if I was on the show Chopped, I'd say I didn't come to win, I came to make friends.
Yeah.
Which is now the new way I try and
You're
describe.
gabbing with the other people who are feverishly making quinoa.
I'm not a go big or go home. I don't need to.
Ooh, what are you making?
It's just more.
Are you making a risotto?
Yeah. If I'm knocked out of the, I don't need to go the distance.
Right.
With the.
Now I want to know what quote. It was probably something like a Ric Flair quote
No,
or something
no,
that you
no.
put in instead of "Can you start my orange?"
Actually, when
probably something
Facebook
from-
started, you used to in your
Yeah.
about, you used to put like
Yeah.
a quote, and it was a Ric Flair quote.
Probably.
He's
yeah,
a professional wrestler who I adore.
He's a big wrestling guy. Let's talk about what Janeane Garofalo's day is like. Oh, you were going to talk about today.
Well, actually, in general, my days are quite boring
That's
because
great.
I
The
don't
more boring
get
the
a lot.
better
I
for us.
don't
We
get a
love
lot
it.
done in
We-
a day.
we
Our
love a good
busybodies
boring
love
day.
minutia.
Yeah.
But today,
When do you wake up?
well, sometimes it varies. There are some times where I go through periods where I don't go to sleep until 6 or 7 in the morning. It just starts happening, and then I get up, I guess, around 11 or noon. Then there's times where I'll get up for no reason whatsoever at 6 or 7 in the morning, and those are bad days because then that's a lot of time before I do a set at night. Because almost every night I do stand up in some way, either locally or on the road.
Yeah.
And that's because I smoke so much. I am by 3 o'clock in the afternoon on those days when I get up at 7. I'm smoke sick.
Yeah, you've had
I've had so many cigarettes and Red Bulls because I love sugar-free Red Bull. I'm a huge sugar-free Red Bull fan, especially if you mix it with some Diet Sunkist orange soda in a giant glass.
Wow.
Sunkist orange again.
With ice cubes.
Wow.
And the amount of that's been in me just by 3 in the afternoon, that's a bad day.
Yeah.
Because I still will keep, you know what I mean, grabbing for a cigarette or something. And by the way, all natural cigarettes.
Sure.
So,
Yes. The healthy kind.
all natural, but not American spirits. I don't like the taste.
Okay.
I smoke English shovels. And those are bad days. But I am fidgety. I'm a very lazy person, but incredibly fidgety.
Right.
I don't sit. It's odd. You know what I mean? Like
It's an odd combination.
It's a very odd. There's a lot of swiffering, a lot of pacing.
Ooh, I like Swiffering.
I read a lot, and
Do
that
you
sounds
are you
douchey
a
to
wet,
say.
wet Swiffer
No,
or
I'm not a
dry
wet
Swiffer?
Swiffer. I'm a dry Swiffer, and then sometimes when I want to clean the floor, I will attach Clorox wipes
I've
to the
done that.
Swiffer thing
I've
and
done
do
that.
that. And this is not eco-friendly, but I don't have children, so I have some wiggle room.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have some points, carbon emission-wise.
Do you feel like the dry Swiffer, you're just moving dust from
That's
one place
all you're
to
doing.
another?
Yes, you're accomplishing
That's my
next to
argument.
nothing.
Yeah.
But I like to do it. And because of the dogs, there's a lot
after
of
the
dog hair.
initial push of the Swiffer broom, the whole pad is covered with dust. So the magnetic function
gone. Yes.
of the strip is gone, and then you're
And
just
when you
pushing
lift
dust.
up the Swiffer thing to remove the dry one and throw it away, you'll notice there's a residual bunch of dust that's left there. Then you have to get that with a Clorox wipe.
Yeah.
Be that as it may, I'm also a Febricer and a tidier.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I also make jewelry. I'm a beadist.
Really?
That's just like a hobby, something that
For yourself? Or
for anyone. I just give it away. I don't
Yeah.
sell it or anything. But I also draw and I do different
Yeah.
things like that. But I read a great deal. Then there's a certain amount of phone calls. I guess sometimes that one has to do So
what time?
As a rule, and then I will go do stand up at night.
So what time did you wake up today?
Today I got up early because today was a unique day.
Okay.
Because you knew you had a podcast.
No. Last night when I got home from, I did a show at the Triad Theater last night.
Okay.
And I didn't have my phone on me. And I then hung out a bit later and it was uptown. And then by the time I got home and checked my phone, which was on my desk, it was one of those very alarming things where clearly something has happened because there's an inordinate amount of phone calls and texts from my agents and
Yes.
stuff, and it made my stomach drop.
Okay.
I didn't know if I was in trouble. It's something.
Right.
But that's unusual. It's not like I talk to my agent's stuff a lot, because
Yeah.
that's just not where I am in show business.
Sorry to interrupt, though, but I imagine that your reps and people that you work, they know that you're not like a constantly reachable, like going to email.
They
you right
know,
back.
but they seem to always forget, and they seem to get the same level of angry on those rare occasions when I need to be reached.
Okay, so you needed to be reached.
So I did not have my phone on me from about 4 o'clock in the afternoon until about 11 p.m.
Right.
And it's not like that. Believe me, usually there's not that much that's missed.
Yeah.
It really isn't. It's usually not a big deal at all. Just last night,
You had
that
a
was
lot.
unusual. And then I didn't feel comfortable getting back in touch with any of the New York people, so I left messages for L.A. agents. And then I got up early this morning just in case. And sure enough, I had been called already, even before I got up early, by my agents. I called them back. And I had auditioned last week for a Broadway play called Marvin's Room opposite Lily Taylor, and I never imagined I would get it, but I got it.
Hey!
So
it was a movie, right?
it was with Meryl Streep
and was DiCaprio in it?
Leonard DiCaprio,
yeah.
but based on the play.
Okay,
That's so cool.
So unfortunately for me, I'm doing Meryl Streep's role. The role made by Meryl Streep.
Well, she's a very overrated actress.
Overrated. Yeah.
She's when people Meryl Streep and the Beatles overrated, but then you're just being a contrarian. When people pick the Beatles or Meryl Streep,
Yeah. So wait, sorry, it's with who? Who are you?
myself and Lily Taylor.
Taylor. Oh,
I don't know
fantastic.
who's playing my son Hank, the part that Leo DiCaprio played, and I don't know who's playing the doctor, the part that Robert De Niro played. But I've never been on Broadway before. I mean, I've done plays before, but this is.
Brian Dennehy.
Ooh, wouldn't that be some good old or Charles Durning?
Yeah.
But
This is very exciting.
It's like
this is your first Broadway
my
play.
first Broadway play. I have done off Broadway.
Sure.
But this is like a real, and I can't believe it because I never get stuff that I audition for. You know what I mean?
Right.
When
Talk
I
about
auditioned, I just was thrilled to get that audition, that somebody would bring me in to audition for a play. To me, that was I even said it to the director when I left. I said, we may never see each other again, but I want to say how flattering it was.
Wow.
That because that, to me, it feels like real actors do.
Yeah.
Because when I've done other plays, I feel like a fraud. And the other people in the play with me, I feel like they're real. I don't feel like I deserve to be here. And I'm sure I will feel this way, and I may get fired. So let's keep that in play.
This historical document, this podcast will...
Just know that it's possible.
This podcast proves that you were hired in the first place. So
But yes, I was, and found out today.
Yeah, and found out today.
That I will be with the Roundabout Theater Company, but on Broadway at the American Airlines Theater. I wish it wasn't called that, but it used to be a formerly great theater one time.
The Tasty Cake Theater.
I hate that when they name things like that. It could still be the American Airlines Theater if they must, but to call it that is silly.
What's wrong with calling it like the the Shakespeare Theater presented by
American Airlines? Yeah, something like that.
I feel like that's going to throw a wrench in your daily schedule. A Broadway play is
here's
a very...
the thing. That's a whole nother level. Now, on the one hand, I'm thrilled. On the other, now I have to do it.
Yeah.
And right before I'm doing it, I'm doing independent film, which I do many of those. And I'm talking about real independent, not independent like Independent Spirit Awards, where you see the same people at the Oscars. This is one of those, can you bring some jeans from home?
Sure.
Can you get yourself up to Hudson, New York? And
Beautiful place,
many of
by
us
the way,
do
Hudson.
plenty of it is lovely.
Yes, yeah.
Many of us
Can
do
you start
lots
our
of those.
oranges?
Yeah.
Yes, and no one ever sees them. And even though this is a good script, and I'm very happy to do it, this particular film, no one will. It's going to go the way of 90% of the movies that lots of people who live in New York make.
Yeah.
In upstate New York.
Although a lot of those end up now on Netflix or on streaming.
No, Netflix would be good.
Yeah.
For the most part, a lot of them end up not even on Netflix.
So when does this play start?
Rehearsal. The first rehearsal is the day after the Portland Comedy the Bridgetown Comedy Festival. I start rehearsals the next morning after the night I get back from Bridgetown, which I'm looking very forward to. Bridgetown 10th anniversal of the Bridgetown Comedy Festival.
We did a show together once at Bridgetown.
Yes, we
I don't know
did.
if you remember that.
I do remember that.
I hosted, and you were the headliner.
Yes, that's how I knew you from at midnight when you look familiar to me.
Yeah, that's right.
But are you going to Bridgetown again
I'm
this
not
year?
going this year. I won't be. But
well, I'll give them your regards.
thank you. Yes, please pass along.
But I love
my
Bridgetown
regards.
Comedy Festival. I'm always happy to do that. And also, I'm going to Austin this week for South by Southwest.
Oh,
and I'm
enjoy.
always that's the good stuff in comedy. Like when you get to do that,
Right.
Or you get to do the Melbourne Comedy Festival or Edinburgh. These are the perks.
Yeah.
Most of the gigs are not like that. But so write. I do that independent thing, and then the day after go to Portland, and the day after that. Now, a lot of people would welcome that and be excited. That's the kind of thing that makes me frightened.
Sure.
And panicky, in the abstract. I can't put my finger on what it is because there's huge swaths of time where there's nothing. I could sit here and say to you, I got nothing except for, doing the Bell House, Littlefield, Eastville, really nothing. Swiffering. And it goes on and then sometimes this happens where it's like back-to-back stuff, which is all to the good. But me personally, I feel quite frightened.
Right.
And also, I know I will be terrified doing this Broadway thing. Lily Taylor, to me, is a real actor, too. But also, as you may or may not know, when you do those, you do 2 shows on Wednesday, 2 shows Saturday, 2 shows Sunday, and then the only night off is Monday. You do 1 show Tuesday, Wednesday. It's quite a lot, and this is basically a two-hander. This play, as they say, two-hander, and it's something where when I am forced to stick to dialogue, when there's no wiggle room whatsoever, I become overwhelmingly frightened.
Wow.
I feel like because with stand-up we can say whatever we want, and then a lot of times with films and even television, sometimes if you change the dialogue, either A, they don't care, or B, they'll just reshoot it.
Yeah.
There's no problem. You cannot. There's
Not
actually
in a play.
union rules about plays. You will get fined sometimes because people think you're doing it on and when it has happened in other plays and people have gotten angry at me, I'm not doing this on purpose. I can assure you that I have no wish to.
Yeah.
And I also feel I have conveyed the same information to you. You could have responded the exact same way you needed to. But a lot of times it proves that the other actor's not listening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't just hear that one, but be that as it may, sometimes lighting cues depend upon it and all that kind of stuff. So I understand that. But I'm frightened of that there will be a huge issue with that. But, I don't know. That's what scares me. If I feel like there's some way where it's freer, you can.
Yeah,
of course.
You just need to convey the
you
same
did Sorkin
information.
on The West Wing.
Right, but see, that actually...
You can reshoot, but was he very, you missed it?
Well, Aaron Sorkin actually wasn't there. He was still there, but not there. He was working on another project, but he had people in his stead who had been there the whole time who felt the same way. But luckily, that's great dialogue. There's no problem whatsoever. And because it was very good dialogue, I had no problem memorizing it.
Got it.
The problem is, and luckily the play in Marvin's Room, the dialogue is very good. So I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
There have been projects I've worked on where the dialogue is shit.
Yeah.
And no one speaks that way. It's very difficult for it to go into my head.
And come out.
And there's better ways to say it.
Yeah.
And there's more effective ways to say it. Sometimes bad writing is the hardest to memorize. And also I found over the years, the hackest writers are the most precious about their words.
Right.
With exception. I meant the Coen brothers and Sorkin and others have a right to be precious about their dialogue. And also, why would you want to change it? It's quite good.
Yeah.
Then there's other writers, and I'm sure you've encountered them, where you're like, it must take effort to write this badly. It seems like it would be harder, actually, to write this badly.
Yeah.
Who are really precious
Went out
about
of their way.
their dialogue.
Yeah.
It's very strange. And then you'll meet very good writers, and he or she is fine with you trying something new. Now, if the idea doesn't work, they won't use it. But that they're fine with, okay, let's see. As long as you're contextually in the game, not that you're improvising just for the sake of it. I wouldn't want to do that, and there's no point in it. But some writers are very comfortable with their work, their writing, and they do believe that a collaboration is better than just hired guns, And then there's some who, and it usually is the biggest hacks, with exceptions, who are really petty about their.
I love this line.
I love this very mediocre. Thing that
There's no way you could make this
very
better.
trite thing that you've seen in 18 other films. I want, and then it becomes a principle thing. If one of the actors says, "Can I try something different?" while saying the same thing, then it becomes they double down on you can't change it because they've taken it as a criticism somehow. I don't know why, because it's not really.
No.
They racked their brains to come up with that construction for the sentence, whereas you just in the moment came up with it.
But
way
also,
better than they did.
there's a more natural way sometimes for somebody to say something, or a more economical way to say it. And like I said, there are times where if it's that doesn't work and the person has given a chance, like you try one while saying what you need to say, but saying it differently. If that director doesn't like it, they don't use it. But I think there's a big difference between
In
allowing.
a play, you got to.
Oh yeah.
You're just
like I
there.
said,
All eyes are
you
on you.
You have to say it. I understand that. I respect that. But that's what frightens me the most. Like, what if I genuinely panic?
Yeah.
And can no longer remember exactly how I am supposed to say this thing, but I have a vague idea of what needs to be said. I'm already scared about it now, sitting here talking.
Well, you got plenty of time to hopefully.
I got plenty of time to get even more upset.
There
about
you go.
it.
So that's good. I'm sure you'll be great, but also I don't want to minimize. I mean, it is a scary thing. So
Oh no, and I'm not trying to maximize it. I'm just saying me personally. The other actors are fine with it, and plenty of people have way harder jobs than this. I'm not in any way pretending this is like the most important thing.
How are you on the road in terms of free time?
Oh, it's actually the same thing. Like I like to wander with no fixed plan. I like to hanging out or just having unstructured time is great. I like it. I have no need to be like, but I got to go to this museum or see that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to go to the museum, stuff like that. But I want to go
at leisurely
at
pace.
leisure.
Yes.
And
you're a woman of leisure.
Also wander without a map or any knowledge of where I'm
course.
going in a new
That's
city
the best
or a new
in
place
in
and
a
see what you
different country,
find.
too.
Yeah, exactly. And
No map.
And I don't want to get up early to do it. Like sometimes other comics, like we got to get up or try this egg sandwich I read about. Go ahead. You know, and I'll catch up with you later.
Yeah.
It's fine.
You'll
I
see it
don't
on my
wanna do that.
Instagram. No, I won't.
I know. It's just like I read about this, and sometimes on the rare occasions I will go. The line's around the block. No way, Jose.
Yeah.
I even if I wanted to do it, I don't want to stand. It's
not happening.
Stand in line for it. And the comic's name is Jose, conveniently.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it's Jose.
It's an egg burrito.
No, how dare
Am
you?
I allowed to-
No, I was just going off of the no
There's
way Jose adage.
in my building.
No way was connected.
In my
that
building,
to the
there's a
food.
new dim sum place that opened that has lines around my building every single day.
There was a bakery last night on my way to the theater. There's a different theater for the show I did last night that I had seen profiled on Unique Sweets.
Ooh.
And the chocolate chip cookies looked amazing. So I thought, I'm up here anyway.
I'll get one.
I am going to go. And the line, apparently others had
Seen
heard about
Unique
it or
Sweets.
seen Unique Sweets or read about it in Time Out magazine or whatever. But they really are the most beautiful chocolate chip cookies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And this was at maybe 6:45 p.m. last night, just on a Monday, right? Last night was Monday. The line.
Yeah.
But I saw this Unique Sweets months ago. It's just been in my mind if I'm ever
People
near
make
70
notes.
And I was like, why are you standing on this line? That is so crazy I just don't understand that.
Yeah. They could be people that were paid to wait in line. For
No,
other
I
people.
think the cookies are probably that good.
probably.
They really do. I'm sure you guys
I
have
want
the
one now.
technology to look up Levain Bakery,
Oh,
L-E-V.
Oh, Levain,
sure,
of course.
yeah.
They're like
Do
mountains.
you know about this?
They're mountains.
But
Oh.
so I live up
Levain,
in
very
Harlem
famous,
by the
yeah.
other.
Oh, my God.
I live up in Harlem by the other Levain Bakery
Yeah.
where there are no lines, and they're the same cookies.
I didn't know there was two.
There's the second
There's
one
a
in
few,
Harlem
yeah.
where there's no line.
Oh, my
I can't
gosh.
eat them because I'm gluten
Well,
free.
what street in Harlem?
But everyone raves
What street
about
in
them.
Harlem?
100 and it's on Frederick Douglass and 117th or 118th.
Okay, that was a little far from 74th last night. Like to have gone up there
Yeah.
because I had to be at the
it's
theater.
Levain
It's
Bakery. Oh,
Levain
yeah, sure,
on
yeah.
74th.
Oh, the lines. Yeah, that's what you're talking about. The lines are always insane. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that it was
Yeah.
known by all and sundry except for Unique Sweets.
Well, next
which-
time you find yourself up in Harlem,
But if
go to the, go to the
sometimes I am. I'll go to the
yeah.
one on 25th and Frederick Douglass. Okay, because I would like to have those cookies.
There you
They
go.
looked.
They are.
You deserve it.
Someone after we had our kids, someone sent over like a box to the house, and
Really?
like I can't even eat them, and somehow they disappeared.
They're
People were scared.
mountainous.
Yeah, they're
I know that's what I like about them because I can't stand small food portions.
slightly
Yeah.
raw inside.
Yes,
Is
I know. I could tell by when they
Oh.
broke it open on the show. It looked wet almost.
I'm guessing it sounds like you watch a lot of Food Network.
I do certain things on the Food Network, and some of them because I hate it so much. I'm compelled to watch certain shows sometimes that I loathe. I don't know why, but
Hate watch.
certain things.
You had a lot when I saw you recently performing at the Stand. You had a lot of. You sort of weave in and out where you'll connect what's going on in the world with
certain
like
things I hate
certain
watch.
cable TV shows, and it's very, very funny.
Well,
It's
there is a connection. That's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
there's a behavior.
Yeah.
Behavior on certain shows that is writ large in our political process
Yes.
and our culture,
Yeah.
our culture
And
wars, or our culture.
it's funny-
that I see it encapsulated in these little half-hour shows.
Yeah.
And I yell at the TV. I yell at HGTV and Food Network sometimes as much as I do cable news.
Yeah.
Do you watch Fixer Upper?
I don't watch Fixer Upper, but I
I
am
love that
aware
show.
of it.
The
I'm
Gaines.
aware of it.
Gaines
Who
family.
who are members of a church that's homophobic.
Yeah.
It's
Again, these
questionable.
things are all connected. These
Yeah.
things are all connected. But they seem nice.
Chip and Joe are very nice.
They seem very, very nice. And I watch
they do a lot of
House
good work.
Hunters. And
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you? We have a segment called the blow off. Do you blow people off?
How do you blow people off?
I don't blow people off in a rude way. Like I always respond when somebody contacts me.
Mm-hmm.
But if they ask, like, do you want to? We're going on a camping trip, or we're all getting together to go to Queens to try an exam, something like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
I know that on the day I'm not going to want to do it, and it's going to create anxiety. When groups go to eat, I can't stand it.
Right.
Especially when everybody has a phone on the table and everybody pays with a credit card, an individual credit card.
Right.
And
Can you
also
split this
ignores
6
the wait
ways?
staff and has had ample time to think about what they're going to order and doesn't seem to ever get around to it.
Yeah.
And every time the waiter or waitress comes by, they pick up the menu and start again. That kind of stuff drives
Right.
me crazy. And don't
Okay.
make eye contact with the wait. You know what I mean? Don't stop talking.
Yeah.
I don't like the ill-mannered behavior
Yeah.
of otherwise nice people to the wait staff. Be that as it may, sometimes there'll be something like, you know what, this summer we're all getting people together and we're all going to go in and share in a house and whatever. And I say, I'm going to be in Scotland.
Yeah.
It's my go-to.
Wow.
Here's for why. Specificity is key. Specificity, people don't...
And they'll never catch you on Instagram.
And if you say you're going to the Scottish Highlands, you can't be reached.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So... now, unfortunately, and something I keep forgetting is in this surveillance society, people know where you are when you're there. If you're doing stand-up, something
Another
like
good
that.
reason for not being on.
So, no, you don't have to be on it for people to
People
know.
still
I don't know how.
The NSA.
Sometimes I'll get a text from somebody who's like, "Oh, I see you're at this tonight. Do you want to do my podcast?" Or I see you. Do you want to get coffee? And I'm like, "How do you know that I'm at this?" And then I forget. Oh, others mention the show.
it, yeah.
And then you're just mentioned. And that's another thing. Like, I feel like I don't need to do social media because when you travel with comics and you work with other comics, they'll do it.
Yeah.
They're always
Your
doing it
name's getting
anyway.
put
Your
out
name is
there.
getting put out, and the club has to do it. They have to do some sort of promotion.
Yeah.
But so sometimes I've been busted. Like, I thought you were going to be in Scotland, but I see that you were here, and I say I was supposed to be. It fell through at the last minute.
Mad cow.
But no. Matt Cal then
Mad Q.
then that's where the
Yeah.
doubting Thomas would
Yeah.
kick
Right.
in.
Yeah.
But also, I was going to be in the Scottish Highlands. But also, it's so far in advance. It wouldn't be unusual to have plans to
I'm
go to
using that.
Scotland.
Right.
I'm going to be in
months
Scotland with
advance.
Gonna be in
Janeane Garofalo.
Scotland.
I'm
There
going to
you go.
start
Right.
using that.
You don't have to be with Janeane Garofalo. You can be just with you.
Yeah.
But because a couple of times I have gone to the Scottish Highlands just because I love Scotland. I've
it's
been to the
great.
Edinburgh Festival, but also I've gone by myself
The
to the Scottish
hairy
Highlands.
Q.
I love it. The what? I don't
The
know.
hairy
What,
cow. You know, it's like the indigenous
well, your Scottish
cow.
accent was so good I didn't
Yeah, it's
recognize
terrible.
what you were saying.
Awful. But that's what I remember from my trip to Scotland was the tour guide telling us about the hairy Q.
I just love Scotland. Love.
I
I'm a
haven't been there.
Scotophile.
I want to go back. I was there once for a couple of days.
If I could live in Edinburgh, I would be. I think I'd be the happiest.
when they take Marvin,
and also in the summer, it never
Marvin's
gets
Room on
hot.
the road to Scotland.
Oh, wouldn't
There
that be
you go.
something
Yeah.
if they would at the Edinburgh Festival? I'm going to suggest it.
There you should on the first day.
You can wear a sweat jacket all through the summer. In August, if you're in
wonderful.
Edinburgh,
Wonderful.
it's sweater weather. That's the most exciting thing, among
Yeah.
others, about the beauty.
I'm a
of the
fall
place.
dresser.
I'm a fall dresser.
I'm lost in the
I don't
summer.
like the summer. I don't like it.
I show up here to do the podcast and just sweating because I'm not dressed
well,
appropriately when
I'm
we
a
do the
sweater.
summer.
I sweat quite a bit. I just, for whatever reason, biologically, I sweat even when I'm cold. I'm a sweater.
Right.
But I also just don't like the throng of the city in August. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
when you have to go to Midtown in August,
Yeah, it's not good.
no fun.
painful.
Yeah.
It's painful.
This has been awesome. Thank you
Has
so
it?
much. It's really been
Really?
fun.
Oh, thanks.
And I would just, if people are in the city and they should go see you do stand up because it's really, really.
I'm usually
you're
at
always
either the Stand, Eastville, the Bell House, Littlefields.
yeah. And you're on the road a lot.
Yes, I used to be on it more, but I've actually, much to the chagrin of my booker, sometimes I'm just like, you know what, Grandma at 53, this is no longer
Right.
Yeah.
right for me. You know what I mean? If I'm going to be somewhere at least 2 days, just at least 2 days.
Yeah.
But the old way of different place each night, and either that requires a new airport every morning or renting the car and driving.
That's hard.
That, as you get older, especially if you don't have to do it fiscally, because I don't have children. You know what I mean? It's if I had children again and a mortgage, this would be different.
Yeah.
You do need to have the revenue stream at max, at peak. But when you don't have children and a mortgage, and if you were fiscally prudent in the 90s, as I was, because I had a hunch it was going to end, my low self-esteem served me quite well, actually.
You're very
one of the
wise.
only wise long-term decisions I ever made is don't buy anything. Don't buy anything. This cannot last, and it didn't.
Right.
And but I still don't buy a lot of stuff now. I'm not a big spender, so I'm okay.
Except your boat.
And Clorox.
Except for my yacht, except for my condo in Lake Como next to George Clooney's. No, I have neither a boat nor a condo.
We went to
anyway.
camp in Lake Como, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Different, not as classy.
So whenever I see
We
those
shot
reports.
Wet Hot in East Honesdale, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because it's about
Camp
summer
Tawanda.
camp.
Camp
Yeah.
Tawanda.
Yeah. It's a very high capacity summer camp area.
Yes, it is.
This has been awesome. Thank you, Janeane.
No, thank you.
And really exciting news about the show.
Marvin's
We look
Room.
forward to
Marvin's-
seeing it.
thank
Coming
you.
to the American
We're gonna
Airlines
come.
The
Theater.
American
Andrew
Airlines
and I are
Theater.
gonna go.
It's by the
Yeah.
Roundabout Theater Company,
Yeah.
which sounds
Keep all of your
sounds
bags
fancy to me.
stowed.
Yeah, it's in Terminal C.
Wouldn't that be something if they broke up the theater into terminals?
Right? Yeah.
Keep your tray
And you had to
tables.
take your shoes off and
Another
put them in a bin
suggestion.
on the
There's
way
tray
in.
tables on the back of the seat in front of you.
Oh my God! Actually, that would not be a terrible
bad.
idea.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
I think we have some. That's for the other podcast, the one where we invent
The Shark Tank podcast.
Yeah.
Podcast.
All right.
Mark Cuban, a great man, a wonderful man.
Future president.
Mark Cuban. How many Twitter followers do you have? Queries Mark Cuban. For how else do you measure the worth of
For that
humanity?
reason, I'm out.
Yes.
It's just one of those things where it's like that. Your only value to me
Yeah. He only looks at,
is how many Twitter followers.
But
do you
I
have.
like him. He's very discerning. He gets out if he knows he's not interested. He doesn't.
I don't know. I'm always suspicious of people who wear fitted black T-shirts,
Okay. Just
straining
real
at the
quick,
bicep.
who's your favorite shark? And then we'll wrap it up.
I actually don't watch Shark Tanks
okay.
that much, but when I have seen Mark Cuban on Bill Maher,
Aha.
he behaves, I'm assuming, in a manner, and he has said that thing about Twitter followers, about
Yeah.
oh, well,
It's
how many
very
Twitter
important,
followers that?
of course.
So I'm assuming that's logically how he carries
Right.
that. And I also had hosted Gotham Live.
Yeah.
And after, I guess, the booker had booked me, he canceled me because he noticed that he actually knew it wasn't an official Twitter. He checked, and it wasn't me, my Twitter site, and had very low following. That's why I don't know why anybody would
Oh,
fake.
so you got unbooked because your
Right,
unofficial
but
Twitter
then,
had like 8 followers.
Luckily, it was already sold out by the time he unbooked me. Luckily for me, because Gotham just has that kind of foot
Yeah.
traffic, and also I guess locally, it meant something. I don't know,
Yeah.
but by the time he had said,
You're a New York institution.
I'm not, and this sounds like I'm backdoor bragging. I'm not. I'm just saying that Mark Cuban, just out of the get-go, had his assistant check Twitter followers because he produces Gotham Live, and then he unceremoniously dumped me.
Wow.
And then by the time they were looking for a replacement, it was like 48 hours later that it had sold out. So he had his assistant say, okay, but it was begrudging and with the knowledge that he was not happy that I was.
He just wanted you to know.
He
that-
just wanted me to know.
Now you're playing the American Airlines Theater.
Yeah.
Which
Little
he
bit.
would find to be a failure. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he would say, yeah, that's what actors who can't do movies do.
Try Delta.
That's how
Yeah.
Mark Cuban would see it. And actually, there is some truth in it. There is, not for in my case, it's true. But there are some people who do prestige stuff
Got
on
it.
Broadway who have thriving movie careers. And then there's a lot of people who did have thriving movie careers who are now back in the theater where they started before the movie career. I didn't start in the theater. Not unless you count You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, in junior high.
Well, I was in your good Charlie Brown and Hebrew
Everybody
school.
was
Yeah.
in your. I was Peppermint Patty, of course,
I was
because to
Linus.
this day I'm sexually ambiguous. Honestly, I had a mannish quality, I guess, back then too. I was Cast his
man.
peppermint patty.
This has been so much fun, Janeane. Thank you very much for
Thank
playing.
you.
Thank you to the sexually ambiguous Janeane Garofalo
Yes.
for joining us today.
And thank you.
And you cannot find her anywhere, so don't try.
Don't even try it.
Don't
Yes.
even try it.
And also, there's a fake Facebook me. That's not me.
Not
her either.
Not her. Not her. Stay busy.
Stay busy, everyone.
Because I'm busy. Whenever I get with her, say I'm busy. And I'm going to hit you later because I'm busy. Busy with her.